day, another episode of Cruising with Phil, getting over a cough. My name is Phil the Cruz. Today I'm honored to have my fellow Americana, the first one I met at Christie Fritz back in June, Sarah Climenhaga. A lot of people say the name wrong. I got it right. So how you doing, Sarah?
Thank you, Phil. Really nice to be on. Thanks for asking me.
Hey, this is a
Seems
turn of,
so long ago. It's
I know.
funny, June, but it's like seems so long ago, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I tell people know how we met. I signed on May 13th and you came on June, right?
Yeah, right at the end of June.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then you reached out to all us, there's only about 8 of us Americanas. You were doing a pod back then. You want to do a pod, remember? And
Yes.
you reached out to me, and I said I was first ready to do it, and then something happened, and it didn't go through, whatever. And then after you did your pod again, and then I was one of your guests, right?
Yes.
And then we met in person after in Christie Pitts finally with Isabella and Adam
Yeah.
and a whole bunch of them. Yeah, so this is kind of funny. I'm meeting you again on your level, like funny, yeah.
Yes.
It's funny, yeah.
Your podcast.
I know. It's my first trying it out now. So, Sarah, before I get into it, let's ask about yourself. People don't really know about you. Like, I don't know about stuff about you that people don't know about. Like, for one thing, you're an amazing piano player.
Thank you.
I remember,
Yeah, well, yeah, I love the piano. Music's always been a big part of my life. Not really professionally, always amateur, but I played piano since I was around 6 or 7 years old, and I've accompanied choirs and I've accompanied like musicals and again all amateur things. But I still play even, I have a piano at home and I'll play. Sometimes I might not play for a month and then I'll play every day or I'll go sit down and play for 2 hours or whatever. It's just a very uh it's it feels good. It feels good to play, and it's nice when I feel sad or angry. It feels good. I feel when happy. I feel good, and I like to sing a lot. So half of the piano I play is like classical music, and then the other half is popular music that I can sing along to.
you're being modest. At Christy Pitch, you said, "Oh, yeah, I play the piano a bit." Then you get on the piano, like, "What the heck is this Liberace in early or what?" Yeah, you're modest. You're a good piano player. You got to hear from me. I can't play with beans, but I love music. I love guitar and piano, especially. You know.
Yeah.
So now, what's your family? I didn't know you were being married. I didn't know you had a husband. I remember the board of trade debate. You mentioned your husband. I was watching. Go, she got a husband. I didn't know that.
Right.
That's so funny.
Yes, it's true. Some politicians, put lots of pictures of their families everywhere. And because I didn't really run a conventional campaign like that. So I didn't really talk about a lot. I talked about my kids more because my kids, often policy would relate to my kids, like,
Yeah.
oh, I want safe streets so that my kids are safe. I want parks for my kids to play in. I want libraries so my kids can use them. So, uh, I didn't bring up my husband as much, but yeah, I've been married for um 20, same number of years as we are. So we're 2022. We've been married 22 years. We got married
Oh,
in
that's good. So I
2000.
didn't know. I know you never mentioned him once. I thought I go,
Yeah.
what? She hired this guy to get extra votes or what?
Right.
You have 3 kids, right?
Three kids. Yeah.
The one I met
And
at the
they're
Christie
like,
Fitz, that's the youngest one, right?
yes, that was my 13-year-old. And then I have a 17-year-old and a 20-year-old as well.
And the one that went down to gone to college.
Yes, that's the
Yeah.
oldest, Jacob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's he gone to? Up in Ottawa?
Lakehead, a little
Oh,
further
Laker.
north. Yeah.
Yeah. So how's it? His first time away from home?
Yes, yeah, first time away at school for that long. He's been away from home other times, but this
Oh,
is
that's
the
cool.
biggest move where he has his own apartment and everything.
Oh
Yeah.
wow, that's great. Have you gone up to visit him a few times?
I did. I went up a few weeks ago and visited him, and it's my first time to Thunder Bay. I'd never been there before, so
Oh, it's beautiful.
it was
Yeah, I
nice.
love it. Did you see the statue upstairs, Terry Fox statue up there up the hill?
You know what? I don't know if I did. I certainly don't remember Jacob trying to think if he pointed it out to me or anything. I don't remember, so probably I didn't see it or I
Okay,
missed it
good. Yeah,
somehow.
it's right on the top of the hill before going to the town or the city, actually. So,
Right.
we know about your music background. So you said you're amateur, but I was gonna ask you, when did you start becoming professional? Because you said you went to all these things, reviews, concerts, and you played by ear too, right? I believe.
I read music, so I learned to play with reading piano music. Um, and those things that I accompanied for, but they were just as a volunteer. Like I volunteered for a musical group at university, and I volunteered, I think, with my choir at university as well.
You got a
And
choir
so,
too. My gosh,
yeah.
this is another your own choir, you mean? You're
No, like with the choir that McGill had like a amateur students choir for they had like a professional music program, and then they also had a program like choirs for anybody who wanted to sing. And so I did that choir, and then I think that I helped out at some practices. I haven't really done any accompaniment in the last probably 15 or 20, like since having kids. My piano has really just been by myself, for myself. But
you're a good singer too. I've heard you sing. You sang at your campaign launch. I saw a video. I think it
yeah,
was
that's right. I sang when the last time I ran for mayor, I sang just before running for mayor at a deputation at city council where I was trying to get add support for free transfers on the TDC. And those deputations are so boring, the process,
yeah.
and so I thought, man, and the city councilors a lot of times do not listen at all. They're like, they don't look at you.
You're
They're on their
kidding me.
phones. They're talking to each other.
I know.
So I thought, what can I do so they'll actually listen? So I brought my ukulele and did a little
Cool.
song.
I love it. That's great. So you're musically inclined. Also, how do people saw your video? The one where you're on the piano and you're moving.
Yes.
That was so cool.
Yeah, that's called a hydraulophone.
Hydrophone.
And
Okay.
I met a group of swimmers when you went to this as well, Phil, when we went to the beach at Ontario Place.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a group of swimmers there who swim all through the winter. And one of them, Steve Mann, is like, I don't know how he would describe himself, but he's very tech savvy and creative in the tech world. And so he's built this amazing instrument called a hydraulophone
Wow.
that plays with water. So
Nice.
covering the water, you hit different keys. You play it like a piano. And so I played that a few times during the campaign. Yeah.
Wow. You gotta throw off all the whales in the ocean, the echo water going,
Yeah. Yeah.
You remind me when I saw it, I said, sure reminds me of John Lennon for a minute there with the piano and just kind of carefree and all, like in that
Right.
song. Yeah, yeah. Everything that when I saw that, I can't remember the song now.
All you need is love. Yes.
No, no, the
All
other
you
one,
need
but
is
he's all
love.
like, yeah, and also the other one, he's all like, I can't remember the tune. He's fast. He's singing it fast. I can't remember the tune. I'm a Beatles fan, also. So
Yeah.
let's talk about jump to subject. Let's talk about Ontario Place, the whole thing going on with that. What do you think of that?
Yeah. So, I mean, it just was in the news again that this private company has submitted a plan, and they talk about that there's parkland in this plan because there is a bit of park around the border of this giant spa, basically. Um, I haven't looked at the plan in detail, but what I do know, again, from reading what other people have said, is that they are proposing to cut a lot of trees down. There's going to be more concrete. They're putting in 1,000-car parking lot
Oh
for
yes,
this private, which to me is crazy. Well, first of all, why are we trying to increase more traffic? But second of all, the government is paying for that parking lot. So that's our tax dollars,
yeah.
but it's a private company that's going to benefit. And I would be shocked if the private company wasn't charging for parking, right? They always charge for parking. So it's just, to me, wow, that's a very high environmental impact. It's a waste of tax money. Whether or not a private company should use any part of that land, I'm not sure. But what I know I'm concerned about is that green swath around the water that is so beautiful that should not be destroyed, especially like it should not be destroyed, no matter what the reason is. It's a real gem, and Toronto's really lucky to have it. So I've been swimming with these people. I
Hey,
just went
pictures there.
swimming again on Saturday. It was a warmer day than it has been, but still it was late November. And because the way I think that we can protect Ontario Place is if there's lots of people using it, and so who speak up for it and who care about it, and you can't just kind of shut it without people noticing. So I think it's a really good thing that this group, they have a petition called Save Teach Beach, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a lovely, beautiful beach, small but beautiful, and a great group of swimmers who are trying to protect it.
Well, I try to get a hold of them. The one doing the conference for the Ontario place. I try to get a hold of Norm Municipality because Norm knows all these people. Nobody responded to my calls. I might have a solution. It could be done. I'm gonna give it to you. I haven't said it out publicly, but I'm gonna give it to you. You ever heard of UNESCO?
Yes.
Well, I looked at the site. UNESCO protects a lot of every year over hundreds of sites, small in Ontario place. The main thing is environment. If there's, and I know for a fact I've talked to people, there are rare species of plant life, algae, foundations there all over that place before it was even built. And also it's on sacred land, which has not been declared free for us to use. So
Oh,
possibly if we can declare it an UNESCO site, prove to the company or the establishment, we can put a stop on that and investigate to be an UNESCO site. And in future, if it gets passed, it can't be touched again. Because there's a sign there that says for the people. They always go by the first dedication of land, like original peoples of this land. There's a sign there, I don't know if you saw it, says dedicated to the people of Ontario or Toronto, where it says, right? So we can,
right.
I put that, I said, if you can put that out there, it's a possibility, claim it as a UNESCO site, and it can never be touched ever again once it's passed, right? Even
I
though
think that's a great
I,
idea.
yeah, and I looked into the what a lot of the really major concerns is protecting the environment. These have been to like buildings and stuff and structures, but now because of the decay, like I'll give you an example. One place in Beloga, there's a little island there. It's a rare island. It only has so many birds and trees there. It's only on that island. It doesn't go anywhere else. And they
Right.
declared it UNESCO site because they wanted to take it down. You can't touch it now. It's done. Snap for life. You know.
Wow.
So we can get that from Ontario place because I've been over there. You've been there, right? You've seen the
Yes.
plant life there. Well, you said, right, taking all these trees. Can they prove that these trees are around everywhere in Ontario, Toronto? Are these any are they spawning a certain life? Like say a certain bird migrates to that tree every year because that tree is accessible for that bird. You take that
Right.
tree away, that species, the bird is gone. Just an example.
Right.
That's where UNESCO comes in and starts intervening with that. Hey, say, hey, this is part of the land, it's part of the property, right? That's just one possibility.
Right.
What do you think of that?
Yeah. Great idea.
Yeah. And the second one is the sacred land, because they always say we make the every time we do a speech or whatever on land, we always
Yes.
acknowledge the original
Land
people of the land.
acknowledgements.
Yeah. But what about the water? We never say anything about the water, right?
Right.
Water belongs to the original people of this land, right? We occupy it, but we all say about thank you for the land we stand on. We have not, I've not, I mean, I'm wrong, but I haven't heard anybody saying in the water, if they're doing something in the water, I'd like to thank the people of the original water, the original people of the water, haven't been said. That is part of that
Right.
is part of Canada. It's part of the property, right? So that's another possibility. If the
Yes, for sure. Yeah, making those connections with indigenous, there are lots of, people who are fighting and saying we need to look at this land. This Toronto is not, it's not de facto that it belongs to the Toronto government or the Ontario government, so it's important to look at those partnerships and see what other possibilities there are for, saying, well, you know what, it's not the provinces to give to Therm, to sell to them. Maybe there's actually needs to be a third or fourth or fifth, party brought in to discuss it.
and why do it have to be a spa over there? I mean, they could pick anywhere else. There's lots of areas to put a spa, right?
Yeah.
There's it
And
just
and why again using so much land for it too? It's just massive what they're talking about. So that's another thing to me is when you've got this like a little bit of private doesn't have to be bad. I mean, part of Ontario Place, you had to pay entry for. So, but not to this extent. And again, not destroying our waterfront for it. Not taking that waterfront away from the public, taking that beach and those trees away from the public is not. That doesn't need to happen.
especially the what 1,000 car parking lot you're talking about
Right.
like that
Yeah.
that's gonna be gas. I thought they were building a subway down there or a line or whatever.
Right.
So why
Yes,
didn't
well, it's going to take a little while for the subway to be built, but eventually, so that's maybe why they're saying, "Oh, we'll get the parking lot before the subway." But again, we have to be thinking longer term than these sort of short term things that can get done quickly for some private company, and then when they change their mind, they're gone. But we, Toronto and Ontario, are stuck with
pay
what's been
yeah,
done to the
exactly.
waterfront.
Yeah, because we don't do a spot in Ontario. And first it's gonna be like, freebies for the poor people, and then it's like the rich. And afterwards, it's like a fad. You get kind of bored of it, and
Right.
then that's it. We're stuck with this. ugly looking thing there, right?
Right.
So that's what I mean. I mean, they're not looking into the after effects. You know, I've sad. I used to be. We came to Canada in '66. We lived down at Tyndall Avenue in '67. We used to go up on the roof watching air show. We used to watch them build Ontario Place, literally.
Oh,
Yeah, like they used to bring the bulldozer of dirt, pile the dirt on.
yep.
We saw them building the CN Tower after. We saw the whole thing in process every year. You go up on the roof. So for me, it's sad. I think it personally because I've seen it being built and I've seen it being taken down. It'd be so sad for that to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? So how about your kid? What's the third one is was it Eric, your son?
I have Jacob, I have Kira and Thomas are my children,
Oh,
and
it's
yeah, no, they're in local public schools, and the two younger ones, and yeah, they're a lot of fun. I like, um, we do a lot of stuff together as a family. We do a lot of camping, hiking, and cycling, and they're really, they got a lot of stamina, and they're also cool with my all the different things that I do, politically, or I do a lot of writing, and
oh, speaking of writing, I mean, I love your writing. You ever thought of writing a book?
yes, I did. I am writing a book right now,
I'm plugging
actually.
your book.
I'll plug my book. It's
Yeah.
it's gonna be it's basically on like the examining the nature of reality. It's kind of a philosophical question, but I try to use like quote unquote scientific or rational evidence to support a philosophical position, basically. And so the whole book is got three sections. The first section looks at what we know right now and where that knowledge came from. The second section looks at it kind of says looks at things like life and death, good and bad, separation, control, and it says there's no actual evidence that any of these things exist. Like there's actually no real evidence, like solid hard evidence that I am Sarah Climenhaga, that I'm this old, that like that's all just sort of belief. That's all stories, very compelling stories, but like to say that I'm the same person as I was even 2 weeks ago, neurologically and physiologically, that's not true. But I have a story in my brain that tells me I am. So it seems pretty real. It's like, well, I must be me because I think I am. But that's just a story. So the book is and then the third section of the book looks at how do we live, how do we live our lives if we no longer believe in all these kind of myths of reality. And then I kind of offer different suggestions that to me make life a little more fun and easier and less suffering and stuff. So it's kind of like like one third popular science, one third philosophy, one third self-help. And I'm almost finished it. I shouldn't say that. I'm almost finished writing the main part, and then I got a bunch more research to fill in a few holes here and there. And then when that's done, I'll do one more draft of it, and then I'll be ready to release it. So I've got a sort of timeline for myself, I guess. Let's say 3 months, 2 to 3 months to release it, and but it's tough. Procrastination is
Oh yeah.
the bane of the writer, I think, and of everyone, right? It's hard to.
How long you been doing the processing working on the book right now?
um I think I had the idea for it about a year and I'm trying to think, maybe spring 2021. So yeah, a year and a half.
It was really funny before I doing the interview. I was thinking, I wonder if she's gonna do a book about all her, laugh about all her philosophies for the whole election. I've heard her talk and her spiels. I go, well, you know what? She's taking stuff from Plato or Eusebius or Plato, some of the religions, some of the faiths, some of the philosophies, Confucius, Taoism. I said all these little things here. I said, we need. She wrote a book about that, and you're doing about philosophy and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
where do you get that from? Like I know it comes from inside, but how do you get yourself into that mode of get all these like so the whole I'll talk about the campaign later, but the whole thing about your whole one thing about your whole campaign is you always come on top. No matter who shoots you down or mean, you support them and you come up top of this philosophy or these words and you forget little things like simple things in life. I got a whole bunch of pages stuff you written there. And my coach said, but you always come up with these things. I go like, so I got to ask Sarah, where do you get it from inside? Where do you get it from? People ask you, why are you so optimistic? Who's this woman? I'm putting her
Right.
down. Twitter, we're putting that, you're criticizing her. They all say that. And then you come back on top with this positive thing. I love it. I love it. I love it. You know, it's like
Yeah,
it's like, let's flatten her out. No, I'm gonna puff myself up and move on. I love it. You know.
right.
So where do you get it from?
Yeah. Thank you, Phil. You know, I think that I've had a lot. It's very hard for me to be criticized. Like, I don't think anybody finds it easy to be criticized. And I also really like, again, like a lot of people, I like to feel loved. Like, I like to feel like I'm belonging. Um, and yet I also am very like, and I consider myself a little bit oversensitive. So it's funny. So because it's been painful in the past, I've felt like, oh, am I getting rejected? Am I getting, do people like me? Like, kind of, I've had worries like that in the past that were really painful, really hard to live with. So around the age of 30, I just started looking into different, again, philosophies of life, on how to deal with these, whether it's an insecurity or whatever, depression, sadness, stuff like that. And I found a lot of comfort and wisdom in different things that I read. And there's this one particular practice, it's called The Work by a woman named Byron Katie. And she really, this sort of practice, it's kind of like a mix between meditation and cognitive science. And it combines in a way that it really helps you look at the world differently. And so if you feel insulted, let's say, someone insults me on Twitter, I'm going to feel mad, and it would be very easy for me to write back, well, blah, 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 blah. And, but because of all the work that I've done, I just go away, I sit with it, and I look at what all my assumptions are of that person who said this thing and why it's making me feel bad. And then I just kind of turn it around and look at it a different way. And so I would say it comes out of, like, my optimism comes out of my pessimism, my natural pessimism. And because pessimism feels worse to me than optimism. So I've worked with it. My ability to be kind to people comes from my propensity to anger, because I've gotten angry lots of times and it never works out well for me. So it's almost like what feels good for me is to see the best in everyone, is to try and keep building bridges, is to not get defensive and angry. And so, in my personal life, I can still get upset. Like, my family will tell you, oh yeah, mom loses her temper. Like, but in my outward life, where I want to show up the best way I can, um, I'm able to kind of always just take a breath, step back from criticism or problems, work it out on my own, and then come back the best way I can.
That's so true. You're so real. We talked already about this projection of, was it like 2 weeks ago? Our minds are programmed like, I'm
Right.
Sarah, so 2 weeks, I'm Philly Cruz, next 2 weeks programming.
Yes.
And also the progress society. Everything you see on TV is perfection, perfection. And so like anything it's hard on kids. Like, I don't know, your kids, like my nephews, they have a hard time admitting that they're wrong, or
Right.
they're made a mistake, whatever. So you're talking here as you know, running mayor candidate, and you're talking about your strengths and your weaknesses. So you worked on your strengths. And every day is a process, right? Like you said, every day it's gonna happen. It's gonna shoot you down no matter what. But you gotta, like, you're being honest, right? Yeah, that's why I like you.
Yeah.
I love when people talk about their honesty. They're not like put on the facade like, I got a perfect life. I have the perfect life. Say boring.
Right.
Go out the door, buddy. Go to Jeopardy. Excuse me, but yeah, I love it. So that's
Yeah,
good.
thank you.
I know. I just like the whole campaign. I was watching you, and I gotta tell everybody that's watching this. Sarah was everywhere. She was every place, every time. I turn around, she's there. Right? You're every event. You went to go walk with Sing there. I went early in the morning. I went the wrong side. I went to the part where I was gonna finish off. Looking
Oh,
for you, and I was like, "Where's this guy?" And then I went back.
oh
I was like,
yeah.
"I'm still at the other side." But see, you were there for every event. You've been to every function. You've been supported every candidate, and I mean that takes gall, right? I mean, a lot of people just keep themselves, do their own thing, and I've done that too. But you're always there for everybody. And I say, who you remind me of? Don't laugh. In the
Yep.
military, what I liked about you and got to respect you more. We've had our differences put aside, but all the people I serve with, especially the women in the military, you remind me of all these women I serve with in the armed forces. You can
Oh,
depend on,
wow.
yeah, seriously, you can depend on you. And I can, you know what? People ask in the election. Some people ask me, who would you count on if you won the election, or who would you ask for if you needed? I said Sarah. No questions asked. You know,
Right.
because she wouldn't question about asking her. She can just do it and reflect on
Right.
herself. You know, and that's what being a person is about, being a real person like yourself, right? You did the first pod when you came out. You sent me the email. Hi, my name's Sarah, and I ran in 2018. And I go, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't paying attention. Like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah. And then you wrote back and said, nobody's asked offered to take me up the offer. And then you go out of record, you start doing the pods and all that, and then meeting him for the first time and all. So when I met you the first time, I said, "You're a mother." I mean, you act like you act young. You're a very outdoor person. That's what I love about you.
Yeah.
You're nature. I say Sarah camping, Sarah's well, it's swimming. You know, everything is all late. And I see with your kids. You see the kids they have reflecting and all. So your husband, who is this guy? I'm curious. What? I've never seen him. You know, what's his name?
Yeah, his name's Paul. And we met when I was at university in Montreal.
Oh, okay.
I was studying biology and he was studying economics. So yeah, we met in university and have, he and it's been, yeah, 3 children, 2 years of travel where he's taken a sabbatical from his job and we've gone around the world together. And yeah, we've done, and he's a more sort of practical minded. I'm a little more risky or something, I guess. And so we balance each other well. I can push him to do things that are maybe don't seem practical but are fun, and then he can ground me when I'm going way too pie in the
Okay.
sky. So yeah,
You're
yeah,
born.
it's
Are you
good.
born in Toronto? Are you born here in Toronto?
I was born in England, and
Oh
I
wow.
moved to Toronto though when I was just a baby. My dad was doing his doctorate in Cambridge, and so my mom had me just as he was finishing his doctorate, and then they moved. They're Canadian, so they were just there for university, and then they moved back to Toronto. And I've lived in Toronto my whole life, except for when I went to university in Montreal. That's the
You're
only time.
taking biology.
Biology and environmental studies. Yeah.
Oh, what did you want? What did you hope to get out of it?
What did I want to get out of it?
Oh, what were you aiming for a career in that?
Yeah, well, I mean, when I started thinking I might do marine biology.
Oh,
And then when I discovered that so much of like hard biology is statistics, like even if you're out there looking at dolphins, you're measuring their fin length,
oh wow.
like there's a lot of statistics that are, to me, I wasn't that interested in. So I gravitated more to to geography and conservation biology that were much more policy issues. And so I'm much more interested in like the practical applications of science than doing the actual experiments. And one of my most influential courses was urban transportation geography, and that shaped my whole way of looking at our roads ever since then. Huge impact on me. And so when I got out of university, I did get a job with an environmental organization, and that was sort of my goal after university, was to be able to contribute to save the world or whatever. That was kind of my thinking.
Was this Montreal?
So I moved back to Toronto and I got a job with World Wildlife Fund in Toronto.
Oh, you
And
worked for
then for
I didn't know you
yeah,
worked for WWF. Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
did.
Wow.
Yeah, so I worked for about 10, 11 years in the nonprofit world, always on environmental issues. And then when I had my kids, then I have been focusing much more on domestic stuff and just doing all sorts of jobs in that period.
Wow, that's amazing. So, and your husband was
Yeah.
studying economics, you said?
He studied economics, yes, and he's a lawyer
Wow.
now. Yeah.
Sorry. Oh, so he's a lawyer. Wow.
Yeah.
And then, so you said you went around the world with your husband a few times?
Yes, we took the kids and went to let's think, we did Turkey, we did a 3-month bike ride around Europe, and then
Oh,
we did
bike ride.
yeah,
What?
that's okay.
Sorry.
bike ride around Europe at 4,000 kilometers, I think it was. And then we also did hiking around Australia, New Zealand, and Vietnam.
Oh, it's so beautiful. I've done that. It's so beautiful, eh?
Yeah,
I
very
mean,
beautiful,
it's
very
so funny you talk
beautiful.
about biking, eh? Get into bike. We got about 7 minutes yet, but the biking thing.
Okay.
You see over there how biking is so wonderful, right? It's so none of this over here like fighting and all this going on. You just like you shake your head like, why can't we have that over here?
Yes,
Especially Europe.
exactly.
That makes such a big
And
difference.
it's just, it really is, there's so many benefits to it. I think, unfortunately, in North America, we've made it like so many things, a left-right issue. Like it's somehow left wing to care about the environment and put in a bicycle lane. Like that's so silly. It's not a left, it's an economic issue, it's a
Yes.
recreation issue, it's a health issue. And I think in Europe they've been a little bit better about just, again, looking at bicycle and transportation policy from a practical lens, not an ideological one. And so, to me, streets that are good for everyone, it's not about favoring bikes over cars or putting down drivers. It's just about having a street that moves the most amount of people, in the safest manner and the most enjoyable manner too. So our cities actually are fun to be in, and that's the
Yeah,
thing.
exactly. Yeah.
European cities are fun, like at least the downtown. And to me, when you go to Steeles or Lawrence or parts of Dufferin or Bathurst, it's like it's not, those aren't fun, beautiful streets.
No.
They serve their purpose as far as they do get cars to move, and lots of them. But half the time those cars are stuck in gridlock. It's not a great experience for the drivers
No, no,
either.
no.
And there's no way that you can do good transit because the buses are stuck in traffic, and they're not safe for bike cycling or walking. So to me, it's like, let's make our streets great for everyone, and that's just practical. It's not ideological.
Yeah, exactly. My favorite when I was in Mongolia, what was my famous bike trip? There's nothing much there.
Wow.
They said, "What? I want to go to the city. It's 3 hours away by car." I said, "No, I'm gonna bike there." You see the little dot in outside of Ulaanbaatar, like way in the distance. So for
Yes.
me, so I took this little dot. It was just a straight path. There was no hills or nothing, all flat, no trees or nothing. I did this great bike trip. My favorite bike trip. I was by myself. I had nature around me a little bit, and passing by herds of tribesmen and shepherds, and like saying Allah, and they're waving to me, and one guy's waving, water, water, water. So I go get some water, get some water, I take off
Oh
again.
wow.
It was my favorite bike trip. People go, why Mongolia? It's such a beautiful place. People don't realize how
Oh
wonderful. Yeah, you've been overseas. You've seen the big difference in the environment, and the air is so. It's so. I put it this way. It was so clean. I actually gasped on the clean air. That's how.
wow.
Yeah, gasped on clean air. So we got about 4 minutes left. You want to go for the second session?
Well, I think that for today, let's stop it here. But we could check in another couple of
Yeah.
weeks or whatever.
Yeah,
Like
next time I want to.
after you have a few.
Because people
Yeah.
want to ask you about your reaction to the election and all that. I want to talk about that and
Right.
get on with that. But we can talk briefly about it. Just my question, if you want
Yeah, I can give you a quick little comment on the election.
to. No,
For me, what it showed was, I mean, I got 6,700 votes or something like that, and that was great. But it wasn't, to me, it wasn't. I had hoped to have a bigger reach than that, and I think, and the fact that so many people voted for John Tory still, like the voter turnout was terrible,
oh yeah,
but that of the turnout, 60% voting for John Tory, it kind of shows me that there are a lot of people that we maybe don't talk to, because I don't know about you, but certainly for me, anyone I talked to, they all often seem to want something different. They did seem to be like they thought things could be better in Toronto. They didn't necessarily seem to be happy with the current mayor, but there are a lot of people, I think, who just aren't participating the same way you and I are. They're participating in city life in different ways, and they so there's not as much, I guess, appetite for change as I assume there is. I
that's
think
right.
people must want to change, let's do this, let's do that. I think there's a lot of people who are kind of, they're just okay with it, or they don't see change. So it's just interesting to me, because there's a tendency to feel like, oh, our democracy is unfair, it doesn't work. Like part of me feels like that, like, we saw the disadvantages in media coverage, like all that kind of thing. So part of me is like, it's not a fair democracy. But then there's another part of me that says, yes, but people could have come out and vote. Like they didn't, but they could have if they really cared. People could have chosen someone different than John Tory if they really wanted. So even as much as you and I and some others feel so passionately that we want change, plenty of other people are, they feel fine, it's okay. So it's interesting to me that that contrast between what I think and what should happen and what our democracy should be for and what it sort of actually is. So that's just interesting to me, and that in itself could be a whole topic of like, what is our democracy, what is it really? So
Well, somebody
it
who
was
would
good.
I talked to you about who did I interview about the lack of trust there with the people, right? Because like you said, I
Right.
talked to when I canvassed twice around all wards. People say, "Where's your pictures?" I go, I'm not a picture guy, but I got to get into it,
Yeah.
right? So they also ask the same question. First question is, are you going to vote? And the most responses, why bother? And my third question I
Right.
ask is, are you going to vote for Green Canada? And they go, what the heck is that? You know?
Right.
So like the whole lack of vote. I'm not saying nothing about the incumbents bad, but I'm just saying it's their it's what the reaction of people to what their decisions are in the last 8 years, even before that, has created this lack of trust between this people, this city, and any new potential candidates. So not for only media coverage, you know. We got criticized. Well, you're nobody. You got to go on there. Who's going to vote for you? Vote for this guy. I said, why would they even take our opinion to vote for this guy? They don't even know who we are.
Right.
You're contradicting yourself, saying vote for Gil, vote for Gil. Everybody gets together, vote for Gil. All you Americans, you're all nobodies. He's the one that's going to win. I said, okay, but you're kind of contradicting yourself because you said basically, who am I? Nobody knows who I am. Nobody knows who I voted. So why are they going to take my opinion if they know who I am to vote for this guy? Doesn't make a difference.
Right.
Kind of
Right.
got,
It's true.
it's true, right?
It's very true.
And also I thought also as well, I got 1 minute ago, I gotta have to cut off here. Anyways, I'll talk to you after. We'll do another session we'll talk more about politics. Thanks for coming on. First time seeing what, over a month now, right?
Yeah, thank you, Phil. Really
I'll
fun.
send you the video. You can copy for yourself, and we'll book another session on your convenience. Thank you much for coming, my fellow candidate and my good friend. I think you're great. I think you're amazing.
Thank you, Phil. You
If I get cut
too.
off there, I'll send you the thing there. Okay.
Okay, take
Have
care.
a good weekend.
You too. Have a great weekend. I'll look for your recording.